François Moreau, the founder and CEO of Reservoir Watch in Paris. As you know, we are designing and manufacturing Swiss-made watches inspired by dashboards and cockpits. This is our core inspiration. It's almost an unlimited inspiration, and we created this brand with my team a few years ago, 4 years ago. We've been growing now in 25 countries, and we're expanding only with the top retailers such as Right Time. I'm very glad that Rita and her team arranged this event. I think that's a very smart way to keep some shape of contact. So of course, it's better to meet face to face, to take the watch in hand and to play with it. But we can't. So let's talk about who we are, what we are doing, and spend a bit of time with you this evening. I know you're going to have some Boursin cheese, the French cheese that we really love.
I'm going to skip through that because we're not going to do that. But the cool thing is we couldn't touch the watches at the time. I do have the entire collection for the most part here today, so we can touch the watches and play with the watches. But Francois is the founding father of this brand, founded in 2016. He is one of 3 guys named Francois at the factory, so we kind of joke because 3 guys named Francois are in charge. So if you want to work for Reservoir, you have to have some variation of Francois in your name. But what was really cool is what was his inspiration. So he was in a completely different industry and decided that he really loved cars, and growing up, always shared that passion with his grandfather too. So speaking about going to the next generation, but shared that passion with his grandfather and decided that wondered why watches are never made like a gauge, or in retrograde as we would call it in watches. So he created an entire line inspired by car gauges, vintage submarine gauges, airplane gauges, or cockpit gauges, I guess. So he's going to share with us the inspiration.
So welcome to my office next to the showroom. This is where I work, this is where we do our management meeting. This is at the heart of Paris. And this is the example of inspiration that we have here. This is, for instance, playing cockpit instruments. So you have, all types, all eras, but we really take each of these tools, have a very close look at them because we really love these little beauties, and from that we make watches. Of course, you find these tools in that kind of beautiful plane. This is a Mustang P51, I'm sure you recognize that. To me, this is the nicest plane on Earth. We are a fan of many planes, of course. This one you might not know because it's a French jet from the French army in the 50s called Fuga Magister. We love so much that plane that we both actually a part of this cockpit of a real Fuga, and we renovated it with real instruments, and that's a very cool piece that you might see at some point in some of our trade shows. We do also cars. The Longbridge is inspired by the Mini Cooper dashboard, and of course all the Jaguars iconic car. The most iconic probably is the E-Type, but the MK2, the 420 are great cars, and their dashboards come with some very unique instruments. German cars also, that's more the GT Tour world. This is probably one of the nicest cars and the most performing car on Earth, together with, of course, the GT40 from the US. Now we don't carry boats yet. But if there is a boat like that, of that size in my office, that's probably meaning something about our future intentions. Then you can find some more stuff about our military inspirations, as well as, Tiefenmesser, which is the submarine inspiration. And this is more for leisures. Musics. This is not Bruce, actually. Bruce is here, below some prototype, which I can't show you for now. That's the French wine, just in case we have some VIP coming and visiting us.
So what's cool is in our industry, normally a lot of the watches, especially when you go every year to the show, a lot of the releases are the same because watch people are inspired by other watch people. So you can hear this is a guy that really isn't inspired by watches at all. He's inspired by everything but, which means that every time that something comes out, it's unique. It doesn't look like anything else that we've ever seen. So the coolest part about Reservoir is how the watch works, because it doesn't work as a typical watch does. It works with a jump hour and a retrograde minute. and it means it's actually easier to tell time. So check this out.
Good evening, everybody. My name is François Nakadji. I'm very happy to spend the coming minutes with you to introduce some of the Reservoir products. I'm in charge of commercial development, including Asia and Americas. Very happy to share this quality time with you from the head office in Paris, knowing that you are all enjoying from Denver. I will start the presentation by a collection inspired by the airplane industry, which is so characteristic of Reservoir DNA. The collection is the Air Fight, which obviously you can see it's very close to an actual airplane meters. You have a few examples here. It's going very well all together. You can see the characteristic yellow and white color, characteristic of the jet area. I'm gonna introduce you now how it works, and this is applying to all Reservoir watches. First, you have the graduation from 0 to 60, which indicates the minutes. You have the hour guichet, which indicates 10 in here. And at the bottom of the dial, you have the power reserve, which indicates the level of energy left in your watch. Plus an additional, specific to this model, a date guichet. So how it works, it's very easy to read, very instinctive. It's now 10 o'clock, and as the time goes by, it's now 10:30, 10:50, and when it reaches 60, the minute goes back to 0. This is the retrograde minute, and the hour has jumped an additional hour. I'll show you again. 12 o'clock, very cool.
So a completely different way to tell time. And at the time that they made this presentation, we've already seen this expanded many times over into different collections and even different functionality.
The second watch I want to show you tonight is coming from our iconic GT Tour collection, paying homage to the German racing car from the 70s. This model, the carbon one, is with a carbon case, very unique material, and you can see all the characteristics of a German sports car, the minute hand, big minute hand, and the rev engine graduation from 0 to 6. Very cool watch, very sportive. Another collection, a core collection, launched at the beginning of the Reservoir story, is coming from the submariners of the earliest 20th century. So you can find here a bronze case, which will give you over time a unique product with a very cool patina. Also coming from the marine world, in 2019 at Basel World, we launched the Hydrosphere collection, inspired from manometers, scuba diving tools. So you can see a very unique combination for a diving watch with a white dial, full superluminova. And you find the three characteristics of any Reservoir watch: the minute retrograde, the power reserve, and the jumping hour. What you have additionally is a power indicator at the center of the watch, which gonna allow you to make sure your watch is working properly when you are scuba diving. We have it in the white dial. This is the Hydrosphere Air Gauge. We also have the Blue Hole collection with a very cool, unique blue dial. So this is the presentation for the night. Enjoy your wine and cheese, and I hope to see you soon in Denver.
So you can see that's just like an overview of all the collections that they do. And they've expanded on every collection since then. But at the heart of it, there's going to be a jump hour, and then there's going to be retrograde minutes. A power reserve, because that's the name Reservoir, so it's about the reserve tank. So a power reserve. And then I'm just going to show you a couple models. I don't have all of them here, but I'll show you just a couple models. We won't say goodnight to Francois as we did that day, but I'll show you a couple cool models that they've come out since this time. So one piece that they did was in honor of D-Day, and this is the Battlefield, which is a really cool watch. You'll see I do have this one out here, done in like an olive drab color with the cool, the specific to it, like the coolest part about it, I guess, is the minute hand and the way that the numbers are printed. So very inspired by the military. They're pretty passionate about this. It comes in that canister that you guys saw in the inspiration booth too. So Battlefield. This is a skeleton that came out, so same functionality, but now you get to see a little bit into the heart of the movement. This is a titanium piece, and the first titanium piece that we got from them. The canister is one of the latest ones. This was inspired by a 365. There's a 356 speedster. I just realized I am dyslexic when I type sometimes, and I just read that and saw that I typed it wrong. But this is a cool piece. It's in titanium. It's the first one that was made a little bit smaller as well. So this one and the Longbridge collection are the only watches that are under 43 millimeters. But it's inspired by, obviously you can even see it in the picture there, and I've had, I have a customer that brought us the actual gauge from the car, and it's pretty spot on, and the straps are designed to be like the seats, so there's a black strap, a tan strap, and a red strap too. So this was a very cool collection. Since I don't have the watch here, this kind of gives you a little bit more of a 365 view of the watch, of the 356.
Are they still available?
They are available. They'll be returning hopefully in the next month. We sold out this month. So. It's a really cool finish. Awesome colors.
Is that a 40 millimeter?
It's a 41 and a half, I think. Just for fun. The extra half. But same concept. Alright, so here's where it connects to this to you guys. So this is the latest release that they've done. This is called the Sonomaster, and I see that, as you can see, it's directly inspired by the Luxman, and you can see it most, I think, in that black dial with the tan subdials. So every time they're looking at these gauges, different gauges, and so we saw a sound gauge back in 2020. I think he had on his desk already, so we had like a little bit of foreshadowing that he was going to be getting into different sound things. But this was a cool way to do it because now it's not a jump hour. Instead, we've gone to a chronograph. So it tells time regularly, hour, minute, hand. It has a stopwatch on it. But what's moving in retrograde all the time, kind of like the needles would be moving, is going to be your second hand. So on the left-hand side, that's a second hand. So at 30 seconds, it'll jump back to 0. And so every 30 seconds, you'll have something happen. So on the other ones, you have to wait a full hour for it to jump back to 0. But here, it'll happen every 30 seconds. And then on the right side of the watch, you have a calendar. So at 31, it'll jump back to the first again. So this is kind of where the connection between the two, the watches and the sound come together from Reservoir. I do have these guys out there if you want to check them out. That's all I have. So, if you guys have any questions, if you want to check it out, I have a full collection here. So,
What is the price range for what you
$3,900 and up. Most of them live in that $3,900 range. Just when you jump into different materials or different functionality, do they jump in price a little bit? They're all based off of a ETA movement, although the newest ones are coming out with a Le Joux movement base, which means that you're going to get a little bit more power reserve. So the chronographs are the first to have that base of the movement.
Are they powered by battery or are they powered by motion?
They're mechanical. They're powered by motion, so they're all automatic winding. Swiss movement. So they're, as you kind of heard it, he's in Paris. The R&D is in Paris, and the factory is in Switzerland.
Do they build in-house or is it Swiss ETA?
So ETA is the base, but they had somebody create the module for them, so that entire jump hour, the retrograde minutes is all done on a module, which is pretty cool in the fact from a service standpoint because we can service the base movement very easily, and if there's a problem with the module, they can send us a module. which is kind of cool about modular movements. They're also a pain in the butt. If you had to fully service the whole thing, that's a little bit more of an intricate service, but because they understood this going into it, they're very easygoing. So the new base movement is going to be a Le Jeu Paré. It's a little bit more in-house. So the Chrono is the first one that they've like really worked together on and have able to manufacture some of the stuff themselves on.
Any other questions? Or? Right on.
I'm down. I'll be around.
Thank you so much, Monica.
Later.
Really, really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for making the time. I knew there was a cable in here somewhere.
So
A
we've got,
really nice cable too.
we've got all the watches set up, so if you haven't had a chance, definitely go take a look in person.